Hi, my name is Dr. Denise Chernowski, and this is this week's A Dose from Dr. Denise, where I hope to teach, show, and inspire you how to release your God-given health and life potential. Well, I'm probably sweating because it is a Sunday afternoon here in Southeast Texas, and it's hot, but I'm getting used to it. Last night, we went and saw Toby Keith. Steve got us first row tickets. It was so awesome, and I think you are not officially a Texan until you see Toby Keith live in concert. So that was incredible. You know, this week's topic is a challenging one for me, and a lot of times these videos are easy for me. I write a few notes and they just pop right out of me. This one has been more challenging, and I say, God, why? And it's because I'm still very much working. I'm still very much in this topic. I have not mastered this topic. And the topic is, what is the difference between allowing God to work in your life versus making things happen? Allowing God to work in your life versus making things happen. So a couple things, and then I'm going to get into the specifics of that. But when we allow God to work in our life, I think sometimes we think we're just sitting on our couch waiting for that check to come in, and that's not at all what I'm talking about. When I say allow God to work in our life, I mean that we shut off the external noise and we listen enough to know that whatever our next steps are, they have been ordered by the Lord, right? Now, there's not some big Santa Claus up there in the sky that we say, or we talk to and say, hey, God, set that burning bush on fire so that I know that I'm making the right decision. Because in my lifetime, that hasn't happened, and I don't think that it is going to happen. But what I do know is that when I take steps that are correct with my soul and my spirit, as God would have me do, then they're the more correct steps. When I make things happen, sometimes they turn out good and sometimes they turn out not so good. So what's the difference between allowing and making, So a couple things. First of all, when we allow things to happen in our life, we spend more time thinking about it. We spend more time thinking about it. Again, in our culture, we value doing over being, and I would ask you to flip that around and value being over doing. The being turns into the doing, if you will. Every Monday, I listen to Oprah's Super Soul podcast. I think it's absolutely amazing. She interviews just really incredible people. And I get so much out of it. But before the start of every podcast, she says this. She says, I think the most valuable thing you can give to yourself is time. I love that. The most valuable thing you can give yourself is time. It is a gift that you give to yourself. And for some reason in our culture, we don't value spending time in solitude. Just in absolute solitude. There's a reason that Jesus went away for 40 days. There's a reason that some of the highly evolved people on our planet spend 2-3 hours in complete solitude every single day, or they go away frequently in solitude, because that's when your spirit can more fully express, when you can get in tune with it. So the first is, when you allow things to work in your life versus making things happen, you spend time in solitude, you pray over it, you think over it, and I promise you, when you do that, the next chapter will unfold. I promised myself that in this next chapter of my life, as we move down here to Southeast Texas, I very much love being a chiropractor. I love being a healer. I love being someone that inspires others. But I want to make sure that this next chapter is not just, something that I'm making happen, but something that I'm allowing to happen through me. And let me tell you, that doesn't mean that it's any less work. In fact, allowing things to happen can be even more work versus making things happen. And the reason there's a difference is because my definition of success is not reaching that material pinnacle, a certain salary. Of course, having money is a whole lot better than not having money, but I don't think that's the definition of success. I think the definition of success is, did you fulfill your soul's purpose? And do you know that probably 95% of the world don't fulfill their soul's purpose because they never even ask the question, all right? So ask the question and allow time with yourself to know what should be my next steps. The second point that I want to make is that when you're in a state of allowing, you're always in a state of gratitude. You're grateful for everything that shows up in your life, even the quote unquote bad things, because, it's not for, we don't appreciate the beautiful sun unless we have the clouds. We don't appreciate being wealthy unless we don't have any money, because you can see the big difference. We don't appreciate our health unless we've been sick. So, being grateful for everything and being in a state of gratitude. Steve and I, every day when we have dinner together and our breakfast, we hold hands. We do this with our sons. It's become a habit. It's habitual for us. We do this out at restaurants as well. As we hold hands and we say grace, and our grace always begins with gratitude. I'm grateful for my marriage. I'm grateful for my sons. I'm grateful to be a citizen in this free United States of America. I'm grateful for my work. I'm grateful for peace. I'm grateful for my church. I'm grateful for XYZ thing that happened to me that wasn't in the plans, but it gave me perspective. So when you allow things to happen in your life, I think you're in a state of gratitude versus in a state of wanting. Because when we are making things happen in our life, we seem to have these checklists, and unfortunately, because we haven't checked everything off that checklist or that goal list, it tends to put us in a state of wanting versus in a state of gratitude. When you're in a state of gratitude, whatever you have is enough. Doesn't mean you don't have goals and dreams and visions. It just means that you're grateful for what you have right in this moment. And that leads me right into my third point, which is when we are allowing in our life, we are present. When we are making things happen in our life, and again, I'm speaking from a very much personal experience, when I'm making things happen in my life, or trying to make things happen in our life, I might tend to be more focused on the future, which is not the now. I tend to regret what happened in the past, and I'm not in the now. When you allow God to work through your Holy Spirit so that can come out and you can do these awesome, amazing things with your life, you're in the present moment. And again, our culture doesn't value the present moment because we are just so frenetic. Yesterday, when we were at the Toby Keith concert, it was awesome. His voice, 25, 30 years later, I don't know how long he's been performing, but his voice is still such a gift from God. It was just incredible how beautiful his voice was. And I turned around, we were in the front row, and I turned around in the second row, and there was this husband and wife sitting. You had to stand for Toby Keith. They were sitting, and they were both on their phones. I don't even know what they were doing. It's not like they were videotaping the concert. They were texting people, right? I couldn't believe that they were missing the present moment, because it was an amazing present moment, and I loved every ounce of it. And I was on my phone too, but I was taking pictures of Toby Keith and I was recording his videos, and I just thought it was incredible. So anyhow, I got off track, but allowing God means that you're in the present moment and you're in the present state, and I think that's a very big difference. Let me just conclude with this: making things happen isn't bad. It's just not as good as allowing things to happen. And I'll give a very specific example. I have about a minute and a half. I record these videos. I try to keep them to 10 minutes. If you like them, share them with others. And like my page, A Dose from Dr. Denise. But here's a specific example. We knew that my husband needed to change careers. He wasn't thriving at his last job. It was a wonderful company. He was making good money. It just wasn't where he was supposed to be. We both knew it. He knew it. And something had to give. Steve had two things happen to him. One was in a state of allowing, and one was in a state of making. And he had gotten a job offer in New Jersey from a consulting firm. He made that interview happen. He called, he followed up, he went on that interview, and he even got that job offer, but something didn't feel right. And the reason we knew it didn't feel right was because we were spending time in prayer. Steve had some downtime. We were praying over it. We were talking to God. I told him to get in touch with what was the deepest core values in him. And somehow that position didn't feel right. And had he taken that position, the position with ExxonMobil would not have come to fruition. And so it was a huge difference. One would have been okay. It would have kept us there in New Jersey. We would have continued on the life path that we were on. And the second was so much more a position of grace and of God. And I can't possibly list out all the many blessings that have shown up in our life because of that. One of them being that I am now in a state of allowing, and I've been blessed to spend time with God and on myself to know what my next chapter will be as a chiropractor and as a healer and as someone who believes in a higher power in a very strong way and wants to share that message with others. So I hope you got something out of today's message. It wasn't an easy one for me to record because I am still very, very much working on it. But spend time with God, spend time with Him so that you can know what your purpose is and don't rush into that next thing. Be in a state of gratitude, whether it's good or bad. Try not to label things in your life. Just always be satisfied with what you have, that enough is enough. Be grateful for that, and try to stay in this present moment, because in the present is all that you have, and that's why it's called a present. Have a wonderful week. Happy July 4th. Praise God for our country and all the wonderful things going on in our country. It is the greatest country in the world as far as I'm concerned. We are the most philanthropic. We're the most generous country. It is a great, great country, and I'm certainly going to celebrate on July 4th for all the many blessings that we're given just to be citizens here. Have a wonderful week, and peace out. I'll see you next Sunday.